Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffery Combs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jeffery Combs on 2 Tuesday, and it is Facebook Live. History of this call goes back all the way back to 1998, my first year as a speaker, success, and addiction coach. Back then, my coaching was primarily sales, marketing, closing sales, attracting leads, building a network marketing business, real estate, and insurance. So I hadn't crossed the bridge to my addiction coaching that came relatively soon afterwards. But back in the day, there was a lot of prospecting and selling content, 1998, and it was a live conference call, late afternoon, 5 o'clock. Relatively quickly, I moved that to 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. And that was my mindset call. And then in 2001, I turned it into the More Heart Than Talent mindset call. So I've been hosting live calls and then Facebook Lives since September of 1998. Felipe, good to see you this afternoon, and I am looking forward to coaching you. My cowboy Felipe, my Kansas City homeboy, good to have you here with me on Facebook Live. The topic for today's Facebook Live is neurotic perfection versus practical perfection. I want to take a moment of gratitude before I move into today's Facebook Live. I've been discussing with my wife a lot. We've been praying a lot. We're praying for the providence, for prosperity, for our country, for all of the entrepreneurs, salespeople, and people in recovery that I coach. We are praying for you. Pray with us. We are praying for peace. We're praying for the providence, for God to provide. And I've been reading this book a lot, The Power of the Spoken Word, and all content by Florence Scovel Shinn. So this is a really, really good book written in 1940, and there's a lot of Psalms from the Bible in the book and a lot of biblical content that is applicable to creating prosperity, reciprocity in today's world. And so neurotic perfection is a way that many people will take them out of their flow. They become so neurotic that they can't produce. I wrote this book in 2010, and this book was originally called From Procrastination to Production. And I knew a man named Matt Morris who had been he was sidelined to me in another business in 1996, 7, and 8. He went on to be a self-made millionaire, and he owned his own internet marketing company. Then he went on to become a 7-figure income earner in a network marketing company called World Ventures. And I was one of his contributors to one of his internet marketing businesses. I was one of his coaches that he employed in a very part-time basis. And so Matt had told me about his agent, and I shopped that book and the original book, and then it became this book right here, The Procrastination Cure. That book was then published in 4 languages. It's interesting. It's in Portuguese, and it was a minor bestseller in Brazil, my wife's country, and it's in every Barnes & Noble. So for those of you who have the book, thank you for purchasing the book. If you don't have it, buy it from my website. Please do not buy it from Amazon. And I want to say hello to four exceptional clients of mine, Rick Stout, Tracy Williford, Bob Campbell, and Farzad. These are people, and Felipe, these are people who have supported me for years. So Felipe has been following me since 2014, Rick since 2015, Tracy Williford 2014, and Bob Campbell consistently the last 6 years. If you do not have this book, buy this book, The Power of the Spoken Word. It is an amazing book. I've been reading it since 1991. Scott Lucas, another good client of mine, has joined me. And I've been reading the content of Florence Scovel Shinn along with David Hawkins for the last several days. And it's really good to get back into that spiritual, biblical, Psalms content of reciprocity, prosperity. Also, Catherine Ponder's content, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. But from my perspective, Florence Scovel Shinn stands alone when it comes to prosperity. And so the topic for today's Facebook Live is what many people do to sabotage themselves. They're neurotically perfectionistic, and they live in neurotic perfection, which then becomes neurotic avoidance. And unfortunately, this is what many people do. My expertise on this content landed me on multiple television shows. I was on a show on Lifetime called The Balancing Act. I was interviewed by Mary Lou Henner, who was the female star of the television show Taxi. I've been interviewed on multiple TV and media outlets on what is perfection. Perfection is an addict's way to avoid sobriety, broken down. Because when I mean an addict, I mean the emotional addictions that many people hold on to, and they'll use perfection and neurotic perfection as a reason not to clean the garage. So it's a duality of living in a completely overwhelmed state, but so neurotically perfect that they can't start the task, or so neurotically perfect that they can't begin to practice the skill of sobriety because they're not sure if they can control the outcome. But by being a neurotic perfectionist, you can live solely in your left brain. And so perfection is a neurotic perfection is a left brain liability. Practical perfection is when you employ both sides of the brain, which is your limbic brain and your left brain. You bring both hemispheres together. You're letting go of the brain fog that is residual from the trauma you hold on to. And if you're an adult child of alcoholics, or if you're an adult child of narcissists, or you grow up in a family with a brother or sister who traumatizes the whole family, and the parents are too codependent to address that situation, then you're going to experience the brain fog as a child. There's a high probability that you'll have this bad sister, this bad brother in your family, and then one of you becomes the neurotic perfectionist, and then you become the golden child, or you become the ideal person. You become, because you're trying to counterbalance the trauma that someone else is having in that family, or you yourself may be the child who was traumatized, and you're so neurotically perfect that you can't perform. And that's what happens to many people, is they have all this talent, but they can't actualize it. And they have all this skill set, but they can't coach a client. They have all this skill set and all this training, but they can't take it to the next level, and they become addicted they become addicted seminar junkies. And so these people then use this as a means to avoid being their best self. And then they, instead of being a producer, they're a procrastinator, and then they hold on to this. Now I want to commend Kira Fairchild is on today's Facebook Live. Matt Smith is on Facebook Live. Rick, thank you very much. Thank all of you who have been loyal followers of my content for years. Some of you have been following me for, like Tom Nash has been following me for 22 years. And I had some people on today. Dorothy Wirt just joined me today. Dorothy has been my client for 22 years, on and off, and consistently for many years. So if you're a recovering procrastinator, that's an awesome asset for you. If you're a practical procrastinator, that's an asset. But if you're a neurotic procrastinator, it's an absolute liability. So if you have people in your team, or you have people that you employ, and they can't get off the launching pad, it's because they're in so much brain fog from they live in mistake consciousness. So neurotic perfectionists live in mistake consciousness, and they're so concerned about making a mistake that they can't produce a result. And this is why so many people can't make it in selling or sales, because it has to be scripted. They have to know what to say. They have to know who to be. They have to know what to do. And they can't pick the telephone up, or they can't start the conversation because they're so overwhelmed about the mistake consciousness that could happen. So as you have a better understanding of the cause that creates the effect of why you do what you do, then you will no longer be the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. I am a neurotic perfectionist who can produce. I am very, very skilled at details. I'm very skilled at organization. I'm very skilled at cleaning. I'm very skilled at the vision of the outcome. And there would be people who would like to classify me as ADD, ADHD, which is not true. That's the medical community's way to seduce the population into standing in line for, those little round things. That's what the medical community wants. And so I could take you all the way down the rabbit hole of how Ritalin became a a household brand in the 70s. I mean, it's a very, very deep topic of how that happened, and then how so many people are still in that loop of that medication that they can't get off of, and they're so afraid to let go of that, which is also part of the neurotic perfection. And then and all addicts live in this story in their head. I'm not sure if I can stop drinking. I'm not sure if I can stop using. I'm not sure if I can stop taking care of people. I'm not sure if I can stop over obligating. I'm a giver. I'm a server. Well, that's the story that you've been groomed to hold on to be your lower self, which is anxiety, fear, and specifically doubt. So the lowest self is doubt, and that's where perfection is. The perfectionist knows they can perform, but they doubt that they can control the performance. So to stay in control of being out of control, they avoid letting go, because letting go then contradicts the payoff. The payoff is recreate the same situation over and over to fulfill the neurochemical craving that they are emotionally addicted to. And this is why so many people hold on to neurotic perfection, because one's too many and 1,000 is not enough. And as you begin to understand this, the bell goes off. And as the bell goes off, you can begin to breathe, release, and let go. I'm a recovering codependent and a fixer and an over-obligator and an enabler, along with all the other addictions that I created as a child, taking care of my parents. So I was a perfectionist in the household. I was the cleaner. I was the organizer. I could do it all. I was a superstar child who never received any recognition. So I took perfection to this whole other extreme of being able to produce for no recognition. So breathe, release, and let go. And then that then creates disappointment. So then it's, no matter what I do, it's never good enough. And so you can do a task perfectly and not get recognition for it. So it's another extreme case of neurotic perfection that doesn't get a recognition. And in going to the 12-step meetings, I found that there was many people like me, and I wasn't the only freak, and I realized I wasn't a freak. Breathing, releasing, and letting go is such a skill to begin to let go of. Now, in this book, I break down, there's 6 different procrastinator types. So if you have the book, you know some of those procrastinator types. And so if this is you, or you're married to a neurotic perfectionist, or you're in this loop with someone, or you have a teammate, or you yourself feel that you continue to hold on to it, I mean, today's a great day to surrender. And surrendering in our context is not a sign of weakness, it's strength. And surrender in recovery is surrendering your will. It's giving it up. It's giving it to God. It's being able to breathe, release, and let go. And in this book right here, there's a lot of context and content on that, in the power of the spoken word of giving it to God and turning it over and letting go of the pain we hold on to. So a perfectionist seeks control. And so they can control their environment by over-cleaning it, or they can control their environment by under-cleaning it. And this is why a perfectionist can't let go of their garage, because it's got so much stuff in it, they don't know where to start. And so they continue to hold on to stuff, and they can't let go of it. And the stuff is the feelings that they stuff. That's the metaphor. And so they don't know where to start. That becomes the excuse for neurotic perfectionist. So the skill set of the one day at a time model is, when you practice that one day at a time model, one day you wake up and you go, wow, I have 5 years of sobriety. I have 10 years of sobriety. And you realize that you've been letting go these 5 and 10 years. And then the emotional state that you hold on to of anxiety, fear, and doubt is now replaced with love, joy, bliss. And then there's the understanding, knowing, and awareness. And so when you're in that state, that's the duality. That's why letting go is such an accomplishment, to be able to let go, and it's a lifetime skill. and as you let go of over-obligating, enabling, doing more for others, putting yourself last, as you let go of waiting till the last minute, as you let go of pulling it off at the last minute, as you let go of running across town, as you let go of doing too much for others. And if you have a team where you're closing everyone's sales, where you're not creating any duplication, what you're creating is you're creating dependency. And I told one of my exceptional producers that to stop overtraining your team and give them less rather than more, and then see who makes it. And in the skills of attraction, we attract to our reality people to fulfill our feelings. And so I have people ask me all the time, how do I attract better people? Well, the situation right now is you have to be honest about your parents. You have to be honest about the circumstances that you grew up in. And if you're in brain fog over that and you don't remember your childhood and you continue to hold on to that and tell yourself, yes, Rick, I'm a chronic, thank you, Rick, for being honest. So Rick said chronic over-obligating to others. I'm in recovery of that too. And the reason I would do that is that way I was trying to win friends rather than do it organically. I would over-obligate. I would pick up drink tabs. I would be the man with the candy, the man with the plan, the rocket in my pocket. I would have drugs for my homies. I'd turn everyone on to them. And that way I could be popular. Well, not really, because all I was just using them and they were using me when we were playing this game of who can use who first. And so as I began to learn that and learn codependent recovery, then that's when clear boundaries begin to happen. When your boundaries are clear and that you let go of feeling responsible for others. And that's another part of neurotic perfection is you're taking on other people's feelings, which then overwhelm you and begin the breakdown of your own immune system, your adrenal system, your lymphatic system, because you're not just taking care of you. Now you're worried about others. And when you're worried, now you're in overload, which triggers the brain fog you had as a child of the parents you had to take care of. And when you're continually taking care of people, you're in the chronic state of overwhelm. You're recreating your childhood to fulfill the neurochemical craving that you're emotionally addicted to. I've repeated this behavior so many times that I learned to really, in 2009 is when I entered into codependent recovery, December 6th. I realized how broken I was from fixing other people that were broken, who were never going to grasp what it means to be sober. And so I learned to let these people go and then not feel responsible for them. And then that created a ripple down effect so that I started to have much better boundaries and much more clarity about what is required to be able to be and stay in a relaxed body, mastering the skills of letting go of neurotic perfection. So if any of this content hit home for you today, feel free to share it. I would be honored if you share it with people in your circle of influence. If you have anyone you want to refer me, thank you very much. Felipe is going to his first codependent meeting today. That is absolutely amazing. That will be, I'm looking forward to discussing that with you today. That will be life-changing for you. For those of us who've been to CODA, Al-Anon, Adult Children of Alcoholics, it's an amazing home to just sit in a room full of humility and breathe, release, and let go. Matt just said that his codependent recovery date, very good, Matt, 4/1/2019. Mine is December 6, 2009, Matt. So I feel you, my brother. That is awesome. It is really a liberating experience to realize in rigorous honesty and to be able to have that sit-down session with yourself in rigorous honesty and take a really good look at your own moral inventory and be able to look at your character defects of codependency and then begin that recovery process free of the guilt and free of the shame that has been the noise in your head that keeps you doing the same thing over and over to fulfill the same set of feelings. If you're on today's call and you'd like to speak to me about my one-on-one coaching, I would be honored. Send me a message, or if you have someone you'd like to refer me, go ahead and send that to me in Facebook Messenger. I will hit the replay button. Thank all of you for being here this afternoon. It's truly an honor to be here with you. breathe, release, and let go. Alana says she's been a member of Al-Anon for years. Thank you very much, Alana. That is absolutely awesome to be able to recognize you for that, for your recovery. I'm going to go ahead and hit the replay button. Feel free to share. Thank you very much. And I'm deeply honored to be here with you. Have a good afternoon, everyone. And Heidi, good to see you this afternoon. And thank you very much, everyone.